the coffee. So I think it's Cafecito time.
Cafecito time.
Oh, Cafecito time.
Cafecito time. Let's go. All right. For those of you who either are hopping on now or maybe you watched the end of the Flow show, shout out to Flow, by the way. Great show today, covering a little recruiting. I was actually watching like that second half of it. A lot of stuff to be excited about there. And I am by no means a recruiting expert, a recruiting guru, so I don't dive into that too much. I leave that to the Flows and the Rastas and the CANES Insights of the world. I let them cover that. They do an awesome job of it. I neither have the time nor the mental bandwidth to cover all that because recruiting is its own animal. But a lot to be excited about there. But anyways, if you were just hopping off Flow show or just coming on, welcome. Cafecito and CANES, Friday afternoon edition. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Today, I'm continuing my Where Do We Rank series. This is part 2. Last week or whenever I did my last show, I covered the running back position and going through it and doing more of a deep dive to see how we stack up against the rest of the country's running back rooms. I can honestly say with full belief that our running back room is better than anybody else's in the country as far as talent, proven experience, and depth. I think we're number 1 overall. Now, today we're doing the defensive line. Well, I think our defensive line room is very talented. I think they're deep. I think we have great size, some NFL guys in the starting front 4. That one's a little tougher because there are some really good D lines out there, and we'll get into it. And I'll let you know where do I think we stack up. But that said, before we dive into that, I want to give a quick shout out to the rest of the University of Miami sports, Hurricanes baseball, 5-0. They got a 4-game series coming up this weekend. They play tonight against Lafayette. And then tomorrow they play a doubleheader, I believe, and then Sunday again. So a little 4-game series here in 3 days against Lafayette. Hopefully they can pick up the 4-game sweep, get to 9-0. That'd be pretty cool. Can't remember the last time we started 9-0 in a season. But great job by them midweek picking up that big victory, especially against UCF. That was great. Some say that we already got the game of the year in February. Miami had that huge comeback. I think we had 4 hit batsmen in 1 inning. And that was when all the fans were leaving the basketball game to come watch the baseball game. They were watching from the parking garage. They were watching from – people were literally climbing the fence and watching from the top of the fence in right field. So pretty cool to see that just around Hurricane sports. And this weekend we got a nice Hurricane sports weekend coming up. CANES Hoops, they got a big matchup on the road against Virginia, number 14 Virginia, 2 p.m. tomorrow. That we've already, I think, sufficiently strengthened our resume as far as being a tournament team. I'm not too concerned about that, but you still got to try to take care of business here in the last 5 games. You got Virginia tomorrow, Florida State Tuesday, 9 p.m. on the road. They're no slouch. I know they had a terrible record when we played them, but they've really gotten hot and played some good basketball. So that's going to be not an easy game. Then you come back home next Saturday, the 28th, to face Boston College. And then on the road, Wednesday the 4th against SMU. Then you come back home for the finale against number 21 number 21 Louisville. So a couple of tough matchups here in the home stretch, but I'm confident Coach Jay and the boys are going to be prepared and they're going to be ready to go and compete. Now, I noticed that we are still not ranked in the top 25. I don't know how that's possible. Miami right now is 21-5. They're pretty hot and been playing some pretty good basketball here. They're on a 4-game win streak, and they're 10-3 in conference. Right now in the conference standings, they're 3rd. And, yeah, you got the big – they always look for that, okay, what's that big resume-building win that they have? Well, right now it's North Carolina. And I wouldn't say they dominated that game, but they went wire to wire and never trailed. So I don't know the poll people are waiting on to rank Miami in the top 25. But to me, Miami's a top 25 basketball team right now. But I kind of like that they're being a little bit disrespected right now, especially heading into this UVA game, because Virginia always has a pretty good basketball program, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be a challenge. So I hope they go into that game tomorrow with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And yeah, so tough little home stretch there, but hopefully they can get some wins, win at least 3 out of 5, maybe 4 out of 5, and finish strong, and maybe earn that double bye for the ACC tournament. That would be amazing, because then you could just keep riding that momentum. Gain Swag, it's great to play late into the season. Soon spring will already be upon us. Absolutely. I love it. Spring, we're going to blink, and it's going to be spring football, and we're going to be talking position battles. James Kane, I'm doing great, man. How you doing? I'm in a good mood, and it's Friday. Coming off a great football season, and yeah, all the other spring sports are doing well too right now. And my baseball Canes so far, like I said, got off to a hot start, and hopefully they continue it. I think they got Florida coming up soon. I don't know if it's next weekend or the weekend after, but that should be a fun series. I want to say that one is at home. Usually, if it's an even number year, like this year's 2026, that's an even number. Usually that's when we play Florida at home. So if we are, I will try to get out to one of those games. I usually do. But yeah, so good weekend coming up. Hopefully Miami can get some dubs here for us. Now let's dive into the matter at hand. So defensive line, I think that is one of the stronger positions on the team right now. I've been saying since the season ended, there's a few position groups: running back, D-line, DB, possibly wide receiver, that we're amongst like the big boys in college football. Like not just in the ACC, I mean like amongst the best in the country. That's something we haven't been able to say in a really long time up until recently. You can thank, first and foremost, Mario Cristobal for that, for his relentless work ethic, his elite level recruiting, and also the money, being able to recruit in the transfer portal. Just the fact that the transfer portal is even a thing, because that kind of like thins out the herd a little bit and provides a little bit more parity. That's allowed us to kind of get in and get some more of those big time guys at a position like defensive line, because going through the best D lines in the country, I noticed a trend here. Some of the best D lines in the country are, for the most part, are the teams that were in the playoffs last year. I mean, and that's no accident. You need a great defensive line. You need a great front four that can get to the quarterback, that can affect throws, that can cause turnovers. Those are big impact plays. And that's, as we proved with our D-line this past year, you can control an entire football game that way. And we certainly did that in a lot of games, especially playoff games. I would say in the A&M game and in the Ohio State game, our defensive line controlled that entire game. So I was looking at some of the teams here. And like I said, I went into this thinking, man, this might be like the running back position, where it's like I'm going through and I'm not finding a team that's even close. Well, that wasn't quite the case. Now with defensive line, I do still think ours is among the best. And when I go through this, I'm going to focus mainly on the starters. You can go into backups and depth and who they, what 5-star freshmen they just picked up. If you want to compare how you think Aiden Breland or Anthony Jones is going to do for Oregon compared to how you think Keyshawn Stansel or Hayden Lowe is going to do for Miami, it's hard to project out. Those guys either haven't stepped on the field at all, or a guy like Aiden Breland who's only gotten a few snaps. So that's really hard to compare. I'm going to go more starting lineup / 2 deep, the guys that are proven, the guys that are really going to be getting heavy rotational snaps. So while I'm on the subject, I'll go to Oregon first. So I'm looking at Oregon. I see Amari Washington, who, in my opinion, when he decided to come back, he was on everybody's list as like maybe the top defensive tackle in the country. I was actually watching. Shout out to these guys, the Joe and Rufino show. Had Joe on once this past. I think it was like a year ago that I had Joe on. I should have him on again. Maybe Blake as well. Yeah, they do a great job on their show, and they were doing like a ranking of defensive tackles actually recently, and both of them, they had Amari Washington like in their top 2 or 3, but both of them also had Ahmad Moten in their top 2 or 3. So, little something to note there. But Amari Washington, absolute stud. You got him starting at D tackle for Oregon. You got Bear Alexander, who decided to stay for another year. Which is weird because that guy has transferred a lot through high school and college, but he's found a home now. He's found a nice little niche as the nose tackle for Oregon at 6'3", 300 plus pounds. He's got that NFL frame that you would want. I think he's got a bright NFL future, to be quite honest. So that's quite a defensive tackle tandem right there. Then they go into the transfer portal. From UNC, they get DeAndre Robinson. That's actually a guy that I wanted Miami to pick up last year. Jerome Simmons. Off the edge, you got Mateo Uyunglele, who's kind of like their star edge rusher at crazy size, 6'4", 6'5", 270 pounds. He's one of those bigger DNs, like those J.J. Watt size DNs that you see in the league. So a lot of, NFL type bodies, guys that you see going in the first round, second round. I like Oregon's D-line a lot, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, compared to Miami's, we'll see. I'm going to go down this list. I'm going to compare Miami to all these. But, yeah, I would say Oregon and Miami's, they're both right up there amongst the elite, amongst like the top 5 in the country. Do you think Mario learned his lesson? I'm not trying to be nice and take his foot off the gas. Now he wants to hang 50 on people. I hope he learned his lesson. It seems like he did late in the regular season. I hope he did. But thank you for that. Playing that kind of quicker style, fast-paced style of offense, I think is going to help a lot this season because I don't think we have the O-line where we can lean on them like we did this past season. We're going to have to play a different, faster-paced style, in my opinion. So that was Oregon. Again, I consider them a top 5 D-line. They're right up there. They're pretty elite. Next one I was looking at is Georgia. Reason I looked at Georgia is A, they made the playoff last year. B, they usually have a really good D-line historically, but not as good as they have lately. And C, I mean, they were a couple plays away from playing us in the semifinals. So Georgia, I think, is still a really well-coached team. I think they still recruit really good players. Is it to the level of when they had Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter? No. But they're still pretty solid. So then I took a look at their depth chart, or their potential depth chart for next year. I see Elijah Griffin there. I think he's going to be a star. They did pick up a Morris Williams from Auburn. And excuse me, folks, give me 1 second. Somebody's knocking on my door. And all right. Okay, sorry about that, guys. That was Amazon. Where were we? So Oregon, Elijah Griffin. They picked up Amaris Williams from Auburn from the portal. They got Joshua Horton. They still got Jordan Hall. They got some guys, solid D-line. They're probably going to be really well coached, but I don't see the dogs, the potential first rounders that they used to have. So Georgia, to me, doesn't quite stack up amongst the elites, like the elite in the country. The next team I looked at was Indiana. Yes, the team that just beat us for the national title, Indiana. I was looking at them, and you know what? I was pretty surprised. I was surprised how solid and how deep I think they're going to be, because they got a lot of returning production. They retooled a little bit through the portal, and they got age. They got older guys. Tyreek Tucker, yes, that Tyreek Tucker, the one who got into a little scrap with Mark Fletcher after the game. Look, take the fandom out of it. If you just look at him as a player, Tyreek Tucker is a really solid defensive tackle. A little undersized. He's only 6 feet tall, 6 feet, 300 pounds. But Tyreek Tucker is a really solid player, I must say. And he's older, heading into his 4th year now. You got Mario Landino. I'm going to butcher some of these names. I owe Flo an apology. Today, I'm going to butcher the hell out of a few of these names. Chidi Obiazor and Toby Usanmi. They must have had announcers in hell this year. I looked at, the amount of snaps that some of these guys had, and, the returning production. They're solid. Again, older guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th year guys. They went and picked up Josh Burnham from the portal from Notre Dame. That was a nice pickup. And yeah, they got some good depth here. Good. They're going to have a good rotation on the D line, I think. Now, do they have the potential first rounders that an Oregon or a Miami might have, or like a Texas might have? I wouldn't go that far, but they're going to be one of those really well-coached defensive lines. So I think they're going to be close to that elite top 5 level, but maybe not quite there, at least not on paper. At least not on paper. All right. So let's move on. Another team I looked at, LSU. LSU looks pretty loaded from what I saw here. Just on paper, they went and picked up Prince Umanmielen. I've always had trouble with that name, but you know him. You saw him in the playoffs. He's an elite edge rusher, freak athlete. If he had stayed with Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss would have had the best D-line in the country, because they got some dudes over there. They got Cam Franklin. They got Will Eccles. If they had kept this guy as well, oh boy, they would have been a problem. But they didn't. He went to LSU, and that's one of the things that the transfer portal does here. It kind of shuffles guys around. It doesn't let you stack 2, 3, 4 levels deep like you used to. So you got Prince on one side. You got Jack Pyburn on the other. Good returning starter, productive player. Started with Florida. Now he's with LSU. Really solid. I've always liked Jack Pyburn. I liked him when he was coming out of high school. I thought he was very underrated as a 3-star recruit. I think he's got an NFL future, to be quite honest with you. And then you got Malik Blockton. You got Dominique McKinley, who was a 5-star recruit just a year or 2 ago. And I think they got some nice talent there. At the defensive tackle position, I think they could be really good. They got a chance to be elite as like a unit. Off the edge, I think they're nasty. They're loaded. LSU, shocker. They're going to have a ton of talent they're going to throw at you. So I think LSU, yeah, I would consider them elite as of right now. They're right up there. Definitely better than a Georgia. Definitely better than an Alabama. It's not the days of 3, 4, 5 years ago when really Georgia and Bama had the best D-lines in the country, and Ohio State. So LSU's looking pretty good. I would put them right up there. Another team I looked at, Ohio State. This is another one that I would vie. They vie for that number 1 spot. You got Bo Atkinson on one side with Zion Grady. You got Kenyatta Jackson on the other side. He's got like high draft pick potential. James Smith, nice pickup as defensive tackle. And you got John Walker, who was a defensive tackle pickup from the portal as well from UCF. So they've retooled a little bit through the portal. They've needed to. Edric Houston, also a defensive tackle. So they got some guys. again, a couple of stars, a couple of potential high NFL draft picks, especially Kenyatta Jackson. But what I put, looking at this again, would I put them like number 1 or number 2? I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd put them ahead of LSU or Oregon or Miami for that matter. But they're right up there. I think OSU's going to be they're going to put out something very formidable when it comes to their D line for sure. Then you have Ole Miss, who I was talking about earlier. Cam Franklin, who you might remember him, he was a guy that I wanted Miami to get. We were going hard after him. Made a bunch of plays in the playoffs. Made a couple of plays against us, actually. In fact, I think he got the tip pass that led to the interception late in that game by Carson Beck that we were driving. I think if Cam doesn't deflect that, he has Keelan Marion open for possibly a touchdown. So that was a huge play by Cam Franklin. That's one play where losing that recruiting battle directly affected us on the field. You got Jamarius Brown at D tackle, solid. Will Eccles at D tackle as well, more than solid. I think he's an impact guy. He was wreaking havoc in that Georgia game. On the other end, you have a glaring hole, though, a bit of a glaring hole because you lost Prince Will Umanmielen. Nailed it that time, Umanmielen. You lose him to LSU. Again, if Ole Miss had kept them, I'm thinking that's the best D-line in the country right there, but they didn't. So Ole Miss, really, really good, maybe even great D-line. Top 3? Maybe they're sniffing the top 3, top 4, but yeah, but losing Prince was a big blow. And then another one I was looking at was Notre Dame. Notre Dame they're very deep, a lot like Indiana. I would say they're a slightly more talented version of Indiana's D-line. They're deep. They're returning some guys. They got Charlie Partridge as their defensive line coach, and they really retooled through the portal here. Again, they were a team that needed to. But they got Bryce Young Jr. He's the son of the former all-pro defensive tackle for the 49ers, if you watched the NFL in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, that Bryce Young. This is his son. Kid's 6'7", freak athlete. Had a few block punts, block field goals in the last couple of years, so he's been like a special teams ace for them. But really talented, freaky, athletic guy that he'll vie for that starting role on the defensive end side. Francis Brayu, stud, solid, got him out of the portal from Pitt. Charlie Partridge there now, defensive line coach, so that kind of fits there. Tyon Gray, solid D tackle. Jason Onye and Keon Keeley. Yeah, they got some guys. They got some guys. So as you can see, going through a lot of these D lines, yeah, you can kind of puff your chest out if you're Miami and say, yeah, we got this guy, we got that guy. Yeah, they got some guys too. So, I'll go through Miami's now, but I mean, you tell me so far of the D lines that I've mentioned so far, where do we rank amongst them? Top 3, top 5 in America? I can tell you right now, comfortably, Miami's a top 10 D line for sure. I don't think that's even a question because after that top 10 to top 12, it is a big, big drop off. But yeah, that's just what I think. You guys let me know in the comments where we fit amongst them. But remember, we did lose. James Kane saying top 5. All right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Top 5 in that group. Maybe like around 4th, maybe 3rd. You tell me. We're going to go through the D-line now. We're coming off a season where we lost maybe the best defensive end tandem, not only that we've ever had at Miami, but the best defensive end tandem in the country last year, in Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bay. They're both probably going in the first round. They're gone. Hard to replace, right? Well, Miami goes out and they spend some money. They go out and get Damon Wilson from Missouri. That's about the best guy you can go get to replace a Reuben Bain. Because Damon Wilson, guess what? He's a potential first rounder. So you got him starting on one edge. Then at D tackle, you get Ahmad Moten coming back. Like I referenced earlier, Joe and the Rufino and Joe show, they had their top 5 defensive tackles. They both had Ahmad Moten, not just in their top 5, in their top 2. Okay, so they see what we see, that Ahmad Moten's elite. He's a future NFL D tackle. I have him as either a first or second day pick, meaning 3rd round or higher. And if he improves on what he did last year, he'll be 2nd round or higher, in my opinion. The only thing he's missing is that elite size. He's got good size, 6'3", 300 pounds, 310, or no, I think he's like 320 now. And it's all strength. You look at him, he carries it well. I remember interviewing Ahmad on the Sunday night show years ago, and when he was a youngin' and he had that baby fat on his face. You see him now, he's got that chiseled jawline. He carries the 320 very well, and he moves very well. That guy's he's just a monster in the middle. So disruptive. And keep in mind, he was doing what he was doing on one good ankle. Remember, he was hurt and he was playing through it. That guy's a dog. He's old school dog. So you got him at one defensive tackle spot. Next defensive tackle spot, you got Justin Scott. A little bit different in the sense that he maybe doesn't have the amount of proven tape that Ahmad Moten has, but he does have some good tape, number 1. And number 2, he's more of that high upside guy, that frame, that size, that explosiveness that NFL scouts look for. Those are the guys that tend to get drafted higher. Because it's more of like a measurables upside kind of thing when they're looking at D-line, especially D tackle. So Justin Scott, he's more of that 6'4", 6'5" frame, 300 pounds. Hasn't even fully filled out his frame yet. Hasn't even fully added the amount of strength that I think he can add yet. I think he could still get much stronger. That said, he's already making plays, using his speed, his quickness. Wait until that dude adds the strength he needs to add. I have Justin Scott also going in the draft 3rd round or higher. Selfishly, I hope he stays for his senior year. But if he progresses like he should as a 5-star recruit and has a great season as a junior, he's probably going to leave. And he's probably going to get drafted in the first 2 days and be a solid NFL player. So right there, Damon Wilson, Ahmad Moten, Justin Scott, I named you 3 future NFL draft picks in the 2027 draft. Now, future like years from now, I mean, those guys could all go in the 2027 draft, 3rd round or higher. 2 of the 3 may go 1st round. You never know. So as far as star power goes, I think very few teams measure up to our starting front 4. And then at the other end, that's going to be the question mark. James, you still got Marquise Lightfoot. You still got Hayden Lowe. I think it's going to be a competition between those 2 guys at defensive end. That was a bit of a question mark, but not question mark like, oh my God, who's going to, who could we have play DN? No, we got options. We have options for sure. You got Armando Blunt. You can put him on the edge as like that bigger edge presence that can set the edge and stop the run and all that stuff. Armando can do that, but he'll likely be more of a 3-tech kind of guy because he's just going to keep getting bigger and stronger. But you got Lightfoot, who's a proven player. He may not be the superstar that the other guys are, but he got a ton of snaps this year. If you tell me coming out of spring, Lightfoot's the other star, cool. That's a solid, productive P4 DN right there, and a guy that can be a difference maker in certain games. So right there, you got a difference maker. You got potential high draft pick in Justin Scott, potential high draft pick in Ahmad Moten, and very likely 1st rounder in Damon Wilson. And then behind them, Armando Blunt, Keona Davis, great pickup. Jarquez Carter hasn't had a ton of snaps, not a lot of experience, but everybody liked him at Ohio State. And then Hayden Lowe, who, yes, doesn't have proven snaps yet, hasn't stepped on the field, but ball goes according to plan, that dude's going to step on the field and be an absolute monster. So, yeah. Again, I look at these other D lines and I'm like, yeah, there's some really good ones. But then I look at ours again and it's like, man, we're top 4, top 3, I think. Again, you guys let me know in the comments. But I really, I really like our defensive line. I think that's a great unit right there. And like I said, if you want to get to the playoffs, make a run, compete for a national title, you need a defensive line that can make some plays. You need a defensive line that can affect the game and shut down the other offense. That's vital. And thank God we have that this year. So Helton thinks top 3. James Kane thinks top 5. Let me know what you guys think. Adrian Kano, top 5. Yeah, I think I can pretty comfortably say definitely top 10. I don't think that's even a question, but I can comfortably say maybe we're on the back end of that top 5. And if Keyshawn Stansel steps in and does something, yeah, that could be even better. John, what about Clinton Portis? Clinton Portis as a running back coach? I wouldn't be opposed to that. I would not be opposed to that. I have no doubt they're gonna figure out the assistant coaching situation here. Are you guys worried at all about that? I'm just curious. I know most Canes fans are not, but let me know in the comments. Are you worried about the coaching situation? I'm not at all. I'm not losing an ounce of sleep over it. Are these important hires? Yeah, that's a different discussion. I don't take them for granted. I don't think Mario's just going to go out and hire whoever. No, they're important hires. I'm very confident that he's going to go in and fill those spots with some quality. We got the money to spend. We are a program that people envy again. We're a job that is highly sought after, I think. And look, and we live in Miami. You know, you got a lot to sell there. Now, being a coach under Mario Cristobal, it's one of those things that's kind of a different animal. It becomes your life. You know, you're putting in hours working for him. And it is grueling. It is a grind. You got to hit the trail. You gotta be working long days, man. So, and you got to go through that like 19-hour interview process with Mario that we've heard about. So, you know, it's a little bit different. Mario's looking for a certain kind of guy. I know Pat Surtain's name has been thrown out there. Makes perfect sense. Local guy. He, lives here, all that stuff. But not just that. There's already a coach on the staff that played with him for the Dolphins. Jason Taylor's his former teammate. They played together in that same stadium just 20-something years ago. They were part of an elite defense that the Dolphins had. I grew up watching them play together, so it would be cool to see. And I know Surtain's a hell of a recruiter, great teacher, great developer. I think he was either D coordinator. I think he was head coach at one point at American Heritage, wasn't he? Or defensive coordinator, something like that. I think he was head coach. So ties to the area, that always helps. So I think we're going to be all right. I think Mario's going to bring in some good guys. Before I go, what else? I know there's been a lot of news this week. Just stuff here and there, like Cole McConaughey, sorry. I'm thinking Cole McConaughey. I keep wanting to say Colin McCarthy because the names are so close. Cole McConaughey, the now former D-end. No, he didn't leave the team. What happened was he switched positions. He is now a tight end, which I'll be honest, I like position switches. I think it creates opportunity. I think it creates new challenges. And, it creates new competition because that tight end room is a bit light. I'm not going to lie. They're kind of hoping that Gavin Mueller, the true freshman, is the freak everybody thinks he is. I think he is. I think he's going to get quite a bit of snaps this year. I like Gavin Mueller a lot. You got Elijah Lofton, who, if he's healthy, he's going to make some plays. But let's see. can he get fully healthy? And then you got Luka Gilbert, who I think is in line for a very good year. I thought he took a nice step forward. I like the snaps he was putting in. The times I saw him on the field, I liked, the way he moved, the way he ran his routes. He looks very smooth and athletic. He just got to put it together, which I think he will. But adding Cole McConaughey, who's an excellent athlete, who's huge. He's what, 6'5", 6'6", 240 something right now, and can still add weight. He's a big boy. And this past year, blocking on the edge by the tight ends was really lacking because Bauman was very inconsistent with it. Lofton wasn't very good. He wasn't himself, though. He had the injured shoulder, so you can tell when he was dipping that shoulder to block a dude, it wasn't, it didn't quite have the same pop. He wasn't knocking anybody on their butt. Guys were just kind of running right through him at times. It cost us a few first downs during the season, actually. Those small details. That's something that we missed from the year before when we had the kid that was like 27 years old. But yeah, that was a bit of news there. And yeah, just the recruiting stuff. A lot of, the quarterbacks that we were offering. I like some of the names there. Again, I'm not going to do a deep dive on recruiting. It's not really my forte. But I did see Coach Dennis Smith. Let me pull it up here. He actually he posted something on X earlier. Where was it? It was like a Michael Jordan picture or something. Yeah, he posted a picture of Michael Jordan 9 hours ago. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. It's got to be something good. I don't know if it means Coach is about to go on a Michael Jordan like GOAT type of run when it comes to recruiting, because that has to be what it is. Some big names visiting soon, so hopefully that all goes well and we land some whales. We land some big fish. I would love to land some whales earlier in the process. I know everything turned out fine. I'm never gonna worry about recruiting when it comes to Mario Cristobal, but it would feel nice if we could land like a 5-star D tackle in the coming weeks here. If we can go out and land a blue chip QB, one of these new QBs that's been offered recently, that would be nice. That would be nice to go like kind of into the spring with like, all right, we're, this class is already looking pretty good, instead of kind of scrambling and trying to flip guys late. It's kind of a dangerous game. But anyway, thank you guys for hopping on with me and just shooting the shit and talking some Canes. Love doing it. Love having I remember back in the day in the off season, I used to want like someone to talk some Canes with. You got your buddies, but it's like, times like this, you can just hop on a live and I can talk with you guys. So it's pretty cool. But anyways, go enjoy your Friday nights. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Canes. Baseball team, go kick some ass on that diamond. I think the first pitch is coming up now in about 10 or 11 minutes. And Canes Hoops, Coach Jay, go take care of business tomorrow. That would be a huge, huge win if we can get it. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time I hop on in a few days. All right. Have a good night. Go Canes.